Hello everyone, welcome back to another session on Python. So far we have discussed about variables, operators, strings, and in the last session we saw how to work with while loops. So as I promised, in today's sessions we are going to talk about conditional constructs, if else, if then else structure, how Python works with all of that, and then we'll move on to for loop. Now someone asked me the difference between while loop and for loop in the previous session, so I think I'll take a pause for that question as of now, and once we jump on to list in the next session, then I'll come back to this and answer that question, because it is crucial for you all to know what a list is before I explain to you the difference between a while loop and a for loop in Python. So till then we have, let's see who all we have on the chat with us. We have Ashish, we have Abdirahman, I hope I have pronounced your name right. We have Ramanan, then we have Shreyans with us. Klinto is already bored or sleepy. Sorry for the delay, guys. I was working with a Jupyter notebook. Hi Chandan. Hi Monica. Monica is asking, can I know why the previous videos which are related to Python is not available? Monica, all the previous videos which are related to Python are present on the channel. If you go to the playlist section, you'll see a Python tutorial playlist in which there are 4 videos, starting with the installation of Python in Jupyter notebook, and then operators, strings, etc. All those 4 videos are clubbed together in a playlist. You should be able to see, but if still you are not able to go back and find out all the videos, please do comment on the video below and we'll fix the issue for you. Hi Sagar. We have Rajendra Singh. GK related next topic. Rajendra, GK related next topic won't be on this channel. You'll have to move on to the aptitude channel. There you will find out probably the GK related content. Hi Ravi, hi Amit. Alright, cool. So let me move back to Jupyter notebook and let's quickly get on with if conditional construct. Okay, so all the languages that you have seen so far have a flow in the programs. Okay, so you have one statement, you execute it, move on to the next, execute it, move on to the next. Then at times in your program you might have a situation when you have to figure out a yes no kind of situation. Okay, so if yes, then do this, if no, do this. And this yes no situation breaks your program further in 2 different parts. So if the question answers to yes, we go on in a different direction. If the question answers in a no, we go on into a different condition, like any real life situation, right? At certain points you might have most of the times you have a yes no situation. You want to attend a lecture in your college. Yes, fine, then you have to go sit in a particular classroom to attend the lecture. No, then you have to figure out what you have to do with that one spare hour you have at your hand, right? So like that, there are always yes no conditions to work with in your programs as well. Let's say you have some parameter value x, correct? And then you have to decide that if the value of x is, let's say, greater than 50 for certain conditions, then we go in one direction. If it is not greater than 50, then we go in the other direction. So the course of program changes based on this condition, yes no kind of condition, and this in program is simulated with the if construct. Alright, so what you do simply is say that if this particular condition true or not true, then if true, execute. If not true, that becomes the else part, then do this. Now this if construct is implemented differently in different programming languages. Okay, so you have if then else, you have if else, etc., etc. So the syntax, that's the word you're looking for, the syntax of writing this if construct in different programming languages is slightly different from each other, but the logic behind is this. All right, there is a condition that you have to test whether the output is so and so, go in one particular direction, one particular flow rather, and if the output is something else, then go in another particular flow of logic in the program. Correct? So let me now just quickly write the code and show you how this entire logic of writing a conditional construct is done in Python. All right, few more people have joined me. Prashant, Jagdish, Kishore. Hi everyone. Shubham. Ashokan answered a question. Okay, everyone. Thomas just asked a question that can we run Python on Eclipse? So all of you who already know Java or who work on Eclipse might be interested in the answer. So I'm reading it out for you guys. We can work with Python, we can run Python on Eclipse. You have to use the PyDev extension on the Eclipse platform. Maybe in the next session I'll show you how to do that, just in case if you are on Eclipse. But otherwise I'll still recommend downloading, Thomas, to you also I'll recommend downloading Jupyter Notebook and working with it, because it is designed to work with Python, so it is easier. All right. Hi Kishore. Kishore says I want previous videos links. Guys, any one of you who wants the previous video link, just go ahead and go to the playlist of the channel. You see homepage, then you see the videos, and then you'll see a playlist button in the homepage of the channel. So go to the playlist button, you'll see a Python playlist with, I think, 4 sessions we have done so far. So there will be a playlist with all those 4 sessions. You should be able to find it, but nonetheless we'll leave a comment down below on this video with the link. If we can leave a comment with the link, or if we can add a status, we'll do that for you guys to check that out. All right, moving back to if construct. So the very simple thing to do is, like I told you in an example, let's say there is a variable x whose value we have to check, right? Whether it is less than 0, it is greater than 0, what's the value of that x variable, and depending on the value of the x variable, we have to print out, let's say, let's do a positive, negative. Okay, so let's say we have a variable x with the value, say 25. Cool. Now the simple logic of writing if in Python is this: if x greater than 0 followed by a colon. Now if you were in the while class, you will see that this is similar to, the syntax is kind of similar to what we did in a while loop. So there was while, the condition, and then the colon. Now this colon signifies that now we are entering into the construct. So you see, automatically your cursor comes 4 spaces ahead. That means now you are in the if condition. So if x is greater than 0, print the number is positive. I'm taking a very simple example. This condition could be anything depending on the logic of the program that you're working on. Correct? Just shift enter. You see, the number is positive. Now let's say if I make this 0, my condition is checking if x is greater than 0, only then say that the number is positive. Correct? So in this case, it will print nothing, because this condition that I'm testing is false, and if this condition is false, it will not enter in the if construct. Now for those cases when you want to check for the else part, what to do if the condition is false? Right now it is not giving any output if the condition is false. Correct? So what do you want to do if the condition is false? that is where else comes into picture. So if x is greater than 0, if this is true, print this, else what you have to do. So else, if the condition is false, print the number is 0 or negative. Alright, it could be 0. If it is not positive, if it is not greater than 0, it means either it is 0 or it is less than 0. Correct? Now when you run this, you will see the output, the number is 0 or negative. Fine. Now let's say you further want to distinguish this. So far what we have done is, there is a number x and we are working with the value of x. So if x is greater than 0, we say positive. If x is less than or equal to 0, we are saying not positive. Correct? Now let's say if we want to further divide this condition. How do we do that? We can say x is greater than 0 positive, else if x is equals to 0, then we can straight ahead go and say that the number is 0, else if less than 0, say the number is negative. Alright, 3 conditions. So far we are at this level. We have taken 2 conditions. If, this is our if, this is our else. Now how do we take care of this? Equal to 0 and less than 0. That's also fairly simple, and this is what we call the if, elif, else. Let me just write it down. If, elif, else. Now the Java programmer might know this as else if, right? But in Python the syntax is elif. We say if and then there can be multiple elifs, finally closing it with an else, right? Hi Mawani, hi Visak. Okay, Shreyansh has asked, is Python a good programming language for starting in AI field? Shreyansh, it's a pretty good programming language to start in AI field, and most of the people who work in the field of AI or machine learning work with Python because it is very easy to use, it's very comfortable, it lets you focus on what you actually want to do in the field of artificial intelligence rather than focusing on what code you're working on. Since coding in Python is fairly easy, you get to focus on the real thing that you want to do with the artificial intelligence or the machine learning part of the problem. So many people you will notice working in AI or ML or deep learning work with Python as programming language. Fanindra says tutorial 3 is not coming, instead showing an error. People, okay, after this session I'm going to take a look at all these sessions and then give you the playlist of the Python tutorials in the comment box or the description box of this particular session. Alright, so anyone who is not able to access any video or any playlist or whatever, just wait till the end of the session for 10 minutes and I'll get this sorted and add everything in there. Hi Akhil. Arif says, I learned some concepts from Java and now started Python. I'm really glad that you learned, you were there in the Java sessions as well as now you have started Python with me. Very interesting and fascinating to know that you are learning 2 languages. So good. Cool, then let's... Okay, Mohit says, shout my name. Hi Mohit. Cool. Okay, let's go back to our elif. Fine. And see how that is done. So this is if and else. Alright, moving to elif now. So how do we do that? Simply say elif. So greater than 0 condition is taken care of. Now we want to say equal to 0 and less than 0. So elif x equals to 0, the number is 0. And then finally, the third condition that we have is the else condition. Now remember, there can be many elifs in between, depending on the programming logic that you are writing. All right. Simply say print the number is negative. All right. Let me write this down also in caps and run it out for you guys. So you see the number is 0. Now if I say -4 and run it again, the number is negative. So you see how the flow of program changes based on these if conditions. Now since there is only one single line inside each of these, you are not able to see the long run effect of it. But let's say there was another variable y, right, the value of which was not defined. Let's say we initialize it with a 0, and now based on the value of x, if it is greater than 0, we assign y to some value, let's say 50. If it is 0, we make y also 0, and if it is negative, we make y -50. And then down the line in our program, we use the value of y, correct? So this will change the flow further down in our program, because the value of y is now changing inside these conditions based on the value of x. So depending on how the value of x is, the flow of your program will change with the value of y. And remember, there can be any number of lines in each of these conditions. It's not just 1 line, 2 line, 3 line. There can be multiple lines inside each of these conditions. Also, there can be multiple elif conditions. All right. One more thing I want you to know, that is, let's say we don't want this elif. We can have compound conditions. What do I mean by compound conditions? We can specify, right now we are checking only if x is greater than 0. We can also check for one more condition, and or let's say or something, and y is greater than 0. The numbers are positive, the numbers are 0 or negative. Let's say you are testing for 2 variables. You see, this is a compound condition. By compound condition, you mean you are checking for 2 different conditions. One condition is if x is greater than 0, and at the same time we are checking if y is greater than 0. So this makes it a compound condition. Now you can also have an elif statement. It's not that when you have a compound condition you cannot have an elif statement. You can always have an elif statement, but for the ease of understanding, I have made it like this. Now if you run this, you'll get the numbers are 0 or negative, because number 1, x is -4, so our first condition fails, and y is 0, so our second condition also fails. If either one of these conditions is failing, then also you will get the same output. Only when both the conditions are true, you will get the first output, that the numbers are positive. This is how you check for more than one condition in your if construct. All right. And these kind of if conditions, let me give you a very simple example. Let's say if you have to check whether a number is divisible by 2 or not. Okay, so let's say this will change to x mod 2 double equals to 0. If x mod 2 double equals to 0, correct? The number is even, else the number is odd. See, 29, x mod 2 double equals to 0 becomes false. Let's say it is 28, then the number is even. So conditions like this, let's say you have to check the temperature. The temperature of a room should be under so and so as per your program. So that condition also you can check. So similarly, easy conditions like this fall into your if-else construct, and if there are multiple conditions, you can always go for if, elif, else, or the compound if conditions. All right. Okay, now before I jump on to while, let me just quickly take a look at the chat. Mohit is asking, Python is useful for writing hacking scripts. I'm interested. Mohit, if you are interested, really good. Python is useful for writing hacking scripts as well, but you'll have to have a very good understanding of the language, both of hacking and of Python to do that. But I'm pretty sure there are resources available where you can go ahead and check them out and work with them. Monica, previous videos are public. They should already be available, but nonetheless, like I said, I'll check and update the playlist in the description of this video. Prateek is asking for advanced Java tutorials. Prateek, if you know, there is a playlist already on the channel which is not advanced Java, basic Java. Once it is finished, we'll come back with a playlist on advanced Java as well. That's in the plan. I think next year, sometime down the month, we'll finish off with the Java, and then we'll start new year with a new playlist on advanced Java, hopefully. So you'll have to probably wait till then for that. All right, Ravi says the programming tricks are awesome. Thank you so much, Ravi. I am happy that you are able to learn. Prateek says, can you show how to code for 2 polynomial equations through Python? Prateek, this particular session we are dealing with the very basics of syntax for everyone. The polynomial equations through Python could perhaps become too much for this session. I'll maybe take it up 1 or 2 sessions down the line when we have covered a few more concepts and everyone is at the same pace. Then I think this problem would be very interesting to take up. So maybe next Monday or next Monday, once we have covered lists, etc., I'll take your question up in that session. All right, Thomas is asking how to write nested if statements. That is fairly simple. Inside an if, it's like any other programming language. Inside an if, you can go ahead and write nested if, but ideally there shouldn't be a situation where you have to. Let me quickly go back. All right, let's say if x is greater than 20. I'm just giving you a dummy example, all right? You won't be checking after checking whether a number is even or not, if whether it is greater than 20 or not, but can't think of any other example, so using the same. The number is greater than 20, and then else print the number is less than or equal to 20. All right. So let me eliminate y from here because we are not doing anything with it. Simple program. I have just written this condition down to show you how nested if else would work. All right. But other than that, I think practically or logically this doesn't make sense. But just to give you a flavor of the syntax of how nested if would work. So you see x mod 2 double equals to 0. Yes. It printed that the number is even. Now inside this you had another if else. So it went ahead and checked for the condition. X is greater than 20. Yes. And printed this. Now this becomes false automatically, so skipped, and the second if else also becomes false, so skipped. This very simple way of writing nested if else Thomas. Alright, Mohit is asking which language has more scope in future, either Python or Java. Mohit, if you ask me, I would say Python probably would have more scope in the future, because yeah, Ashokan also answered the same. ML, AI, scientific computing startups, Python will be more wanted, but he has mentioned exactly what I was about to say. Enterprises will have Java for a few more years, because there are so many applications in so many companies that are built up on Java. So there will be a demand of Java for a few more years, because the companies will have to sustain their applications till they either move on to Python or some other programming languages, or their applications become obsolete or of no use. So till that time they have to maintain their current ongoing applications. Of course, Java will be useful in the market, and there will be demand for people who know Java, good Java, not just basics of Java, but good Java in the sense that they can actually write code in Java. But other than that, Python is going to occupy a lot of market a lot faster. All right, cool. So that was about if else, compound conditions, nested if, elif, etc, etc, etc. Now let me quickly jump onto the while loop. Okay, so how do we work with for loops? All right, so the one thing I want to mention here before I start, let me just mark it as a markdown so that you can check it out later. The for statement in Python differs a bit from what you would have used in C or Java or Pascal or any other language. What happens is, let's take an example of Java. What do you do with a for loop in Java? You initialize, then you check for the condition, and then you iterate as well. So these three things are done as the part of the for loop in Java, correct? And then whatever you have to do, the code that you have to execute, goes inside this for loop. This is plain old Java. Now let's talk about Python. What does Python do with their for statements? So Python's for statement iterate over the items of any sequence. Okay, iterate over sequences. Now these sequences can be anything. It can be a list, it can be a string, it can be a range of numbers. All right, so Python, when you talk about Python for loop, it iterates over anything and everything that can be iterated over. It can be a list, it can be a string, it can be a range of numbers. How? Let us quickly see. Let me just say Python here so that you guys don't get confused. All right, so let me write a for loop that iterates over a range. Now to specify the range, I am going to use a function, a built-in function called the range function. This is the function. So what does this function do? If you need to iterate over a sequence of number, this built-in function comes in very handy. It generates the arithmetic progression the way you want it to. So let's iterate over a range of numbers from 0 to 5. How do we do that? For I in range 5. Okay, we want from 0 to 5. Again, colon, indicating that your for loop starts, and then inside print I. What will this do? Range will give you a range of numbers from 0 to 5. So when you say for I in 0 to 5, every iteration will move from one number to the next. So print first will be 0, then 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's check it out, run it and check it out. That's it. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, question is, why didn't we get 5 in the output here? Why only from 0 to 4? So remember that the endpoint that you give, you have said 5. So the endpoint, that is 5, is never part of the generated sequence. When you say range 5, the sequence is 0 to 4. When you say range 10, it means it will generate 10 values 0 to 9. So the number of values generated are 10. So like when you say range 5, this will generate 5 values starting 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the last value won't be generated as part of the sequence. Alright. Let me, before I go any further on the range, let me quickly print and show this to you. Print, if I do this, range 10. Okay. What will this do? It will tell you the range, that is 0 to 10. Remember, 10 is not included in the list. So when you use the function list, when you create a list of this range 5, we'll learn more about list in the next session, but for now just take a look. If you list it down, the range 5, the output will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this list is basically what you are iterating over here. So for I in 0, we printed 0. I in 1, print 1. Let's say if I do I plus 2, what will be the output? Simply add 2 to each iteration. So 0 plus 2 became 2, 1 plus 2 became 3, 2 plus 2 4, 3 plus 2 5, and so on. So in every iteration what we are doing is I, that is the value, plus whatever operation we want to perform on that value. So I plus 2. Cool. Now let's take another example where we don't want to, let's say, start from 0. We want to start from some particular value till another particular value. Let's say we have to do a iteration from 5 to 9, 5 to 10, let's say. So for I in range will allow you to do that as well. So for I in range, now you have to give 2 values. So up until now you wanted to tell to your for loop that go from 0 to 5. So you gave only the end value. Now you want to tell your for loop go from so and so value to so and so value. You want to specify 2 values. So in the range you give 2 values, that is 5 to, let's say you want to do till 10. Cool. So you give 5 to 11, because remember the last one is not inclusive. If you want to include 10, you have to go till 11. And print I again and run. So you see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got your values. Let's say if you do it till 10, last value is not included, you will get output from 5 to 9. Now another interesting thing that you can do with this range is that it is possible to let the range start at a number. Also it is possible to specify the increment. Let's say you don't want from 1 to 10 all numbers, you want alternate numbers. That also you can do. For I in range 1 to 11, and you want to step over to the next value. Okay, so how do we do the stepping thing? Let's say, let me give you a simpler example. 0 to 10 and a step of 3. Remember, so you saw what just happened, right? I've missed the colon at the end of this line, it treated this as a normal line, not as a for loop. So when I hit enter, right, when I hit enter, I am going to the very start of the line, which indicates that I am not inside a for loop. This is a part of the normal program. If I add the colon, indicating that this is a for loop or a if condition or a while loop, and the next line is going to be inside this loop, and then I hit enter, you see automatically the cursor is moved 4 spaces ahead, correct? So make sure you don't miss out on your colon in your loops or conditional constructs. Now what I have to do is show you the value, how it works. So we start from 0, remember this is the start. If one value is given, it is the start. 2 values are given, start, end, and 3 values are given. The third one indicates the step. So from what to what? By step I mean it will start printing 0, add 3, print the value, move 3 steps, not add 3, move 3 steps ahead, print the value, and so on. So shift enter, you see it printed 0. And let me take out this and then explain it to you so that you better understand what we are trying to do here. So you see range, when you say range 0 to 10, what will be the output? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, correct? This is what happens. Now when you say range 0 to 10 but over step of 3, so what it does is it starts printing with 0, first output, then next it will print the step of 3, that is 1, 2 and 3. So third value will be printed. Next again step of 3, 1, 2, third value is printed. Again step 3, 1, 2, third printed, and again if you try to go, it will be out of range. We have crossed 10, so 1 you do, 10 is crossed, that means this is it, no further output. So you got the output here exactly to this. We are not adding 3, we are moving 3 steps ahead to whatever list we have. So 1, 2, 3, correct? And based on that, it prints your output. Similarly, you can do it, now this is going to be very interesting. Similarly, you can do it for negative numbers. Let me show you that too. Let's say minus 10 to minus 100 over the step of minus 30. Okay, minus 10 to minus 100 over the step of minus 30. You print this and you get exactly what you hoped for. So minus 10, if you go 30 steps ahead, you will get minus 40. If you go 30 steps ahead, you get minus 70. Now in this, the calculation is simpler and clearer because these are numerical values that you are iterating over. So you can simply keep on adding 30, you will be able to see that it is correct. But don't do the same when you are working with strings or something. Speaking of strings, let me show you a quick example for iterating. Like I said, for loops can iterate over range of numbers, they can iterate over list, they can iterate over a string as well. Now since we have not talked about list so far, I'll not go there in today's session, but let me quickly show you iterating over a string. So if you want to say for character in some random string, let's say TalentSprint, not random, but let's take it. For char in TalentSprint, you want to print out every character in this string. What you do? Print C. And that's it. So for char in talent, now see exactly what you are getting as output. Missing parentheses in call to print, or did you mean print int C? the simple funda is, which I missed here, is I have to print character, not C. Even then it has to go and enter. Correct? So you saw the error message. Let me go back and show you the error message. It is very easy to read the error messages in Python to rectify your program. So I accidentally said print C instead of saying print char. Char is the variable that I'm using to iterate over this string. Correct? So instead of using char, I said C, and it exactly pointed at that very variable where the error is. Syntax error. So I can see that C is no variable I used. So I quickly change it to char. Now still there is missing parenthesis, which it very clearly points out to me. So when you're learning Python, it becomes very easy because the error messages are very clear and straightforward. So you see, you can iterate over each string character. Now this is a very short and simple string. It can be a file that you iterate over, one character at a time. It can be a paragraph or 2 or 3 sentences that you have already created, and then you are iterating over it to find some matching pattern kind of problems. So all these problems can be dealt with using these for loops. Okay, and then for loops are also used for iterating over list, which we'll talk about in the next session, and then I'll quickly show you the iteration over list using the for loops. All right, so let's quickly check if you guys have any doubts or you want me to repeat something. Okay, is there any videos available about AI, Pratik? Yes, there are. I think there are 2 public videos that are available on the channel on AI. Again, drop on to the playlist section and you can find an introduction to AI and one history of AI. There should be 2 videos available on the channel for AI. Kedar has said, can I write multiple if before else? Kedar, I don't understand what you mean by this multiple if before else, but like I showed you, it has to be a loop. If, elif, else. You cannot be concatenating to this. So let's say if this is one if, elif, else, you cannot concatenate any other 2 in between this in a random order. Inside this if, there can be one if else block. Inside this if, the elif, there can be one if else block, but the block has to end before the next thing starts. So make sure if there is a if and you want another block, the block ends before your main elif is starting. All right, you cannot do a mix match concatenation of if elif. That won't work. That will result in an error. All right, what else? Shubham has asked how to check the value of x and y at the same time. Shubham, I guess you were referring to the if else condition thing that I talked about. If you have to check the value of x and y at the same time, you can have a compound condition. If x is this and y is this, so the compound condition will check the value of both x and y at the same time. You can say that if x modulus 2 is equals to 0, that is x is divisible by 2, and at the same time, let's say if you want to check if y is divisible by 3 or not, so you can say and y modulus 3 is double equals to 0. So checks the value of both x and y at the same time using a compound condition. Okay, okay, Thomas is saying Python is making confusion because of not using brackets. Thomas, I think as of now you feel that, let me show you, you might be feeling that it's confusing because it is not using braces or brackets like other programming languages, but it is fairly simple because the very heart of programming is that you indent your program correctly. Okay, every language says that your program should be indented properly because it makes it more readable. And that is where Python focuses. So to make sure you indent your program properly and makes your program more readable, right? This is easier to write than if you write this. Even with braces, this is very difficult to understand. Now Python makes sure that you don't do any such mistake, and hence the indentation, and hence no use of braces. I think once you get used to or accustomed to writing a program in Python, you will feel that this is like a very interesting and niche way of writing a program, and makes your program more readable than any other programming language out there. Okay. Prateek is asking, can we initialize multiple variables in a single for loop in Python? We don't initialize variables in Python for loop, as you would have seen already. The for loop here, I'm not initializing the value of I. I have not said anywhere that I is 0 or I is 1 or I is so and so. Similarly, when I'm iterating over a string, I'm not saying my character is, I have never initialized character. So there is no initialization of 1 variable or 2 variable or 3 variable. You just say what you have to iterate over, and each character of your iteration will be stored in this variable char. And then you do whatever you want to do with the variable char. Print it, add it to something, do whatever you have to. Like here, I added 2 to my iteration variable I. So this is just to iterate and hold every iterating value. No initialization or something needed. Yeah, Ashokan has already answered. There's no concept of index variable in Python for loop. So in a sense, the question is invalid. Can we get tutorials on machine learning, deep learning, or AI? Okay. 2 heavy words in one single comment. I just slipped while pronouncing. Shreyansh, there are 2 videos on AI already on the channel, so you can go ahead and take a look at that. And meanwhile, maybe I'll ask Ashokan to do an intro of machine learning as well as deep learning. I see many of you are interested in it, so maybe he can take up a few sessions to give you an introduction or background of both the languages like AI. So that AI in videos were very interesting, and many of you really enjoyed watching those artificial intelligence videos. So maybe down the line we'll add more around deep learning and machine learning to that playlist. All right. What else do we have? Okay, Nagesh is our editor who works on all these videos. He has already responded saying you can find previous videos of this session in the playlist. So just all those guys who were asking about the previous videos of the Python playlist, please go ahead. That has been sorted out. You can go to the playlist and watch all the previous sessions. Okay, what else do we have? Kedar has asked how to print the range in list form for I in range 110.3. I want to print this in list form. Kedar, I'll take this up in the next session when I actually talk about list, how lists are stored, how we iterate over list, and then I'll show you how 110.3 can be print in the list form. How can you print in the list form? Because others in the group today might not be aware of list. So in the next session, this question of yours I'll definitely take up. What else? Had a bootcamp program to learn code. Good that you have found out, Divakaran. Take a look, go through it, might find it interesting. Rajesh is asking when will be the next session. We have these Python sessions every Monday. Every Monday 6 o'clock there is going to be one session on Python. So far whatever we have covered you can check in the playlist. If you have any doubts, questions, etc., you can leave a comment on any of the videos, and I'll make sure I'll take your questions up in the coming up sessions. Maybe down the line we can do one or two of programming sessions on, let's say next to next Monday we can take up a programming. You can take 3-4 programs, write down the code, because by then you'll be aware of most of the basics of Python language. For loop, while loop, conditional constructs we have seen. We'll let's say once we do list, dictionaries and tuples, then we'll do some interesting coding questions on Python. Okay, what else? Can we create own documentation to program, and how to create documentation to program? I think by documentation you mean if you're writing a program, then what inputs it is taking, etc., what outputs, what conditions, etc., etc. That ideally is the work of your program manager if you're working in a company, Kishore. So it should come down that. If it is not, every company has their unique syntax or pattern of writing the program documentation. So maybe you can refer to any previous program documentation of your company and then take inputs from there on the structure of your program documentation and create one of your own. So let's say I have worked on program documentations that list all the requirements, all the inputs, outputs, etc., and then we give the details of logics, technical code, what groups and bits and pieces of the code from outside our team or our domain are integrated into the code, etc., etc. There is a lot of detail and documentation to the program. Okay, and Ramanan gave me the question, difference between list and tuple in Python, which again I'll say you have to pause for this session because I have neither discussed list nor tuple on these tutorial lists. So those of you who are from the starting might not be aware of them. So I'll pause on that question for now, list and tuple, and we'll take that up in the next session when we have discussed both list and tuples. Maybe if we have time in the next session, we'll also do a quick on dictionaries, and then next to next Monday we can do some coding work which might be interesting for many of you. All right, so I see there are no further questions. I'll close the session for today. I hope you had fun, enjoyed, learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you so much guys for joining, and good luck. Happy coding.